All right. So, hi everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Zara, and I will be giving you the SCTLD monthly update for April. Um, Let me just louder, louder. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you. So, SCTLD, I think all of you guys know what's going on, right? In the reef, right? Everybody has seen that a lot of coral reefs are sick or they have like white spots or something like that. And you're like, what's going on? So, SCTLD is stony coral tissue loss disease that came all the way from Florida. This is how it looks. One of the things that it does, it completely kills the tissue of the corals. So if you see in one side, you see that it's healthy, the polyps, right? And then in the other one, you see that it's completely dead. So just for the new people, it was reported the end of September last year here in Honduras, in Flowers Bay. So now I'm going to tell you what we've been doing since September, and especially like what's been going on April. A little bit higher? Okay, okay. Sorry. Okay, a little bit. So this is, I wanted you guys to see how it's completely different than bleaching. So from bleaching, corals can actually come back from bleaching. Don't know if you guys do this, right? So it's not as bad. While why is SCTLD so important? Because it has a rapid mortality. So we've seen that corals can die from it in 5 to 7 days. Ooh, let me see if there's no one else. Okay, so what have we been doing at RMP? We first monitor the entire island and we have 22 different sites. We do like different persons, right? Observations of corals. And I brought some stuff that we use at monitoring. Thanks, Chris. So we use this. These are all the species of corals that are affected by the disease. So you guys can check that out. And what are the results for April? So the current spread of the disease in Roatan is like this. So it started in the south, as you can see there at Flowers Bay, and now it spreads via contact, right? But that's mostly in transmitted by fish and contact with closed corals. Okay, so different species, same species, they can't affect the one next to it. So you see that we have all the GPS points that are in red, means that in those points we have actually reported SCTLD. So it's sadly in the entire island. Okay, that's Punta Gorda, and yeah, Punta Gorda was the one that's further up near Camp Bay. So that's the one that was reported in April. And the east is still healthy, which is good news. So what does that tell us? There's different stages in the disease. Okay, so because it rapidly kills the tissue, there's different stages. Right now, the red ones, this is another map, same GPS points. The red ones are epidemic. This means that in this areas, you're gonna see a lot of lesions. So when you dive there, you see brain corals, you see star corals, flower corals that are completely dead, gone, or you see that those have really a lot of lesions or really big lesions, and you see some of them that are still being resilient and fighting the disease. And then in the yellow one, that's invasion. Invasion, you can see it's better, right, than the red one. Invasion means that you have low lesions and that you still have a higher diversity in the corals. So all of this information we get from our monitoring, from the monitoring that. And the green ones is good news. That's pre-invasion. That means that no SCTLD has been reported in this area. We do have other diseases, bleaching, ciliates, black band, yellow band, all those different diseases that corals are still fighting. So, what other? Sorry. Yes, I will. Yes, don't worry. So I'm glad that you guys ask questions, like ask around. At the end, you can ask everything and volunteer with us, which is what we need. So, what diseases have we reported this month that we didn't see the month before? So we've seen more bleaching. So more bleaching is going on in the east and the south across the island, and that's because temperatures are rising. So we are recording temperatures of 27 degrees, say at 5 meters or also deeper, which is 29 degrees in the shallows. So say you're seagrass, 29 degrees, which is really bad for the corals and other species. And the Caribbean ciliate infection. So this one also has SCTLD. As you can see, it's completely gone. This is a rain coral. And it doesn't only have SCTLD. If you see the black things, that's the Caribbean ciliate infection that we have reported. We've seen more often in this month, which is not normal, but it is a trend that many scientists have seen in Florida and other places. That's because SCTLD is so aggressive. It obviously decreases the opportunity, or well, it decreases the way they fight other diseases, and they can get infected of other things, just like black band, yeah, like black band, yellow band, and sometimes people confuse SCTLD with bleaching, but bleaching is completely white. You see here, it also still the polyps there. It just the goes away, but it can come back.
The corals recover if they get the Caribbean sea infection, or once they have it.
They can recover from a lot of diseases, and they also it's slower, so they kill them way slower, but they don't recover from SCTLD. So it's a really bad, aggressive disease that we have right now. For the people that didn't come to the monthly update last month, the disease has been reported. It first reported in Florida, then it got reported in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now it's in Cayman Islands, Mexico, Cozumel, all those, Belize, and just Roatan. In Honduras, it's only in Roatan, which is good, right, for the country. No, it's not. So we want to keep it that way. Yeah. So monitoring, what can you do to help us? You can get trained. You can get trained. You can. We had one, I think, 2 weeks ago. We're gonna have another one soon, and you can help us. So we have volunteers monthly, and then you learn the corals, and then you help us assess because it's in a big island, right? So you help us understand, or well, report where we find SCTLD. So another post, I don't know if you follow us in social media, but you should. This post is very important because in the ones that, let's go back to the map, like in the map here, no, here, sorry. So in the epidemic part, I forgot to tell you this, but there are species that are more susceptible to the disease than others. So you're gonna have pillar corals. I'll show you photos later on. Pillar corals, maze corals. This area that is the red one, we are trying to locate the, oops, internet stable. We are trying to locate maze corals and pillar corals are brain corals, star corals, all of those also let us know. But this one we haven't actually seen in the epidemic area that they are healthy. So if you're snorkeling or diving, let us know. So what do we do? This is the part like, yes, we monitor, yes, they're sick, but what do we do? We do the intervention, okay? So scientists in Florida have been studying this in the lab, in water, and they've been understanding, they tried many different things. So they try a paste, because we need like a paste, right? To stick to the coral so that it stays, right? the antibiotic or whatever we want to use to stop the disease. And the scientists noticed that when they use amoxicillin and other antibiotics, that it halts. Okay, so sometimes they get other lesions, but this is the one that has the best results. So this is what we're doing. We also want to try with another treatment that can be, instead of base 2B, which is epoxy specifically for the reefs, we want to try shea butter, and we also want to try another antibiotic to see how the reefs in Roatan are going to behave. Something that's super important is that we've seen, and all the scientists in the they've seen that there's no specific trend. Yes, we have species that are more resilient, more susceptible, but some can depends on the species and it depends on the site how it's going to react to the treatment, which is a very complicated and aggressive disease. Another thing that I forgot to mention, but we've mentioned in other updates, is that scientists still don't know the specific pathogen. So because they were trying so many things, they think that it's bacterial. It has a bacterial component, but it also has a virus component that it's going to weaken the coral, and then the bacteria is going to affect it. So what do we do when we do intervention? We intervene. Oops, the wind is strong. We intervene every week. We have different sites that I will show you later. So when we monitor, we're like, okay, there's a disease here, we have to take action. And this is where we go with our volunteers, and we use amoxicillin and the base 2B, and we mix it. Base 2B, we have the 400 grams and then 50 grams of amoxicillin, which is not the same one that we take, right, for for diseases in humans. So we apply the paste or the epoxy with the amoxicillin. We mix it really well, and we apply it in the corals, and we take data. So why is data important? Because this is what's going to tell us how the species are reacting to the treatment and how we can actually take action after the data. Okay, so we're not just tagging anything just because, the data is super important to let us know how we're going to actually fight this disease. So this is a volunteer applying the epoxy, and the other one is measuring a star coral, which is really pretty. So how do we choose the coral? Size because they can reproduce. So the big ones obviously have a higher capacity of reproducing and can actually, help to rebuild the reef. Obviously, most of them are endangered with the amount of tissue that is alive. We've seen that if we treat big corals with bigger lesions, they're not going to survive because they're already too sick. Okay. And of course, if we find corals that are highly susceptible to the disease, we want to treat them. So another thing that we've changed in our methodology this month is that we want to do this fire break methodology. So before we were like, let's just choose the big ones, and we're going to take the data to see how they are going to behave because there's no specific trend. So here, the red one is a star coral or ababea, and we want to save it, right? Because it's susceptible. But then the other ones, if you see the other ones, their tissue is they don't have that much alive tissue. So what we want to do to prevent the disease from spreading, because it spreads between species, is that we treat this one, which also has a small part of SCTLD, and we treat the other ones, even though they're probably not going to survive. We just want to prevent the disease to going to the other one. So this is a photo from actually this week. And we want to tag the one, this is already in an epidemic area, so there's not a lot of diversity in that area. So we treat the other ones, we tag that one, and then we treat the other ones to prevent the disease from spreading. So what are the results for this month? We have 7 dive shops that are adopting a site, and a lot of them are actually talking to us and people like you guys helping us. And we have 20 map later, and more than 600 colonies, which are the new tags, because before we had smaller tags. So what do? We go to specific sites, we place the tag to get our data, we collect our data, and we do a map. Because why do we do a map? Because it's super important to go back and reassess. So monthly or every 3 weeks, we see how the coral is doing. Okay, so we need the map to actually locate the corals. Because if we forget about the corals or if we don't go back, they're going to die because the antibiotic is short term. So these are all the intervention sites. The ones in purples are the ones that have been adopted. We have other people that want to adopt it. So the ones in purple are the ones that have been adopted by the dive shop. Then the ones in blue are the ones that we go with the RMP staff. As you can see, we have a lot of sites in the epidemic area, which is good. So this is a photo that last month, February and March, makes us really, really happy because it's a species that survived. So in April, we went back to do the reassessment and it's still alive, which is really, really good data and it makes us really, really happy. So you can see like the smaller lesions, the new lesions are small, okay? And the other ones completely stopped. So when we go back, say like in a month, we reapply if it requires it. If not, we just go back in 3 or a month later to check it out. And then this is another one, which is a brain coral that is highly susceptible. And you see that in March and April, it stopped. So another good news. And we hope that the one that I showed you. Then we have the D-lab or the brain coral, and we have the symmetrical brain coral, which is really good because we've seen that they have a really high success rate, that the ones that we treat, they're going to be alive. And then for the low success rate, which is sadly the ones that we're looking for, which is the mace coral, that's gone. And then the pillar coral, also it's a low success rate. And then you have the flower corals, which are just not, we don't have them anymore in a lot of places because they die really fast. So what do we do with the dive shops? We do assessments. So they help us. We either go on our boat and volunteers come with us, or we also, Roatan Divers has now been included to the list, and they all want to adopt sites, which is really great because it helps us in the epidemic area, and we can go back and assess the areas that are in the invasion or in the yellow GPS points that I showed you in the map. And how can you help? Well, this is that the scientists have seen that it's best laminate our gear, and we give the posters. We give the posters to all dive shops. We still have to take them to dive shops, and we take them so that they tell all the people that dive with them and also them. So if you go to Tila, Cayo Cochino, Seamounts, the east area, all of those are still completely healthy, okay? So it's best if you do it all the time that you dive. Don't worry about the bleaching, right? You also have to rinse it because you have to rinse it. But some people think that bleaching in the ocean is going to be bad, but they've actually tried bleaching with epoxy to stop the disease, so it doesn't kill it. And of course, it has a specific, what's it called, percentage, and then you rinse it, okay? So it's so far safe. What else? Important for our upload it to our either our email, or you can just use the QR code that you'll find in different dive shops that just goes directly to a form, and then you upload it. I've also had people that send us photos via Facebook. Everything is really good because then all the help is necessary, and we're thankful for that because we can see how the corals are doing and if they need reassessment, and then we know from the tag where they are and we can just go back. And then you can volunteer with us. So that's you. We can help. We need divers to help us take the data, and map makers and data loggers because we have a lot of data. And if you're a dive shop operator, you can help us adopting a site for assessment. You can provide been trained and now they're confident and they just take the data themselves and just give us the data, and they all of the dives sites that they've adopted. So these are the photos that I showed you. So you take the photos of the entire coral and the lesions, and then you upload it to the email. So this is what we can do to help the reef that is in a lot of need. And we finally just want to thank the Swiss Corporation and the different, or Marfan and other organizations that have helped us to carry out this research and to protect the reef, and the different dive shops that help us with many, many things, volunteers, boat time, and everything. So this is the end of the presentation, and if you guys have any questions, just let us know, or you can ask right now. Yes?
So, as far as disinfecting here goes, what about smugglers? Because there's too many smugglers who have containers, so they do disinfect
You disinfect once you go to another area. Like if you go to the east and you've been diving in an area that's not healthy, you
Well, let's say there's let's say some vacation or something exclusively in halfway.
no, but you should always decontaminate, say, the snorkel, right?
Yeah, mostly it's because of the
Yeah, because it has water.
so trying to avoid like this residents coming from these areas. That's why we encourage tourists to disinfect.
Any other questions? No? Good. So thank you for coming. And if you want to volunteer with us, just let us know. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.